Hey, what's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist and today I'm doing a Samsara Lotus Ftk deck profile. So I'm really excited to do this for you guys because this deck was actually suggested to me by one of my patrons, Gloomba. And this deck is an extremely powerful deck that can FTK like crazy, and it's super consistent to set up with this build. So without further ado guys, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell in there so you can become part of the notification squad, and definitely check out the Patreon down in the description below for all those awesome rewards. Like in your name, description, single video, getting a signed cards in the mail, and even getting to request a deck profile every single month you're a patron. And definitely give Gloomba some love down in the comments down below for suggesting such an awesome deck. So let's get straight on into this one, guys. So first off, we're playing a single copy of Samsara Lotus. This card is an absolutely crazy one-of that enables the entire FTK to go off, because this card is not a once per turn effect. That during your end phase, if you control no spell or trap cards, then you can special summon this card from your graveyard in face-up attack position, which is a crazy powerful effect that as long as it's the end phase, this card constantly tries to go off and bring itself back from the graveyard over and over again, which is what causes the FTK to go off. This card also has the ability that this card's controller takes 1,000 points of damage during their standby phase, which is not that big of a deal because it's never going to happen, because we're not going to make it to the next standby phase because we're going to FTK the opponent when this goes off. We then play 3 copies of Lunalight Kaleido Chick. This card is a definite 3-of in the deck because this card basically enables the Foolish Burial effect of this card to be able to get your cards in the graveyard so you can bring them back to your side of the field off their own effects or your copy of Lunalight Tiger's effect. We then play 2 copies of Yellow Marten. Yellow Marten's really good as a 2-of in the build because if this card's in your hand or graveyard, you can target a Lunalight card that you control and return that card back to the hand, and if you do, special summon this card from the grave in defense position, but banish it if this card leaves the field, which is a really good effect to be able to use with this card just to bring itself back to your side of the field so you can get an additional level 4 monster on the field so that you can go in for rank 4 plays. This card is really good in the deck as a 2-of. We then play 2 copies of Emerald Bird. Emerald Bird is really good as a 2-of in the build because this card has a great ability. If this card is normal or special summon, you can send a Lunalight card from your hand to the graveyard, and if you do, draw a card to help you dig into the deck. And if this card is sent to the graveyard by a card effect, you can actually target one level 4 lower Lunalight monster that's banished or in the graveyard, except a copy of this card and special summon defense position but negate its effects, which is not that big of a deal because it just gets you an additional monster on your side of the field to go in for link plays or XZ plays. We then play a single copy of Lunalight Tiger. This card is crazy powerful, and the reason I actually went with the Lunalight package for this particular FTK. This card is a great pendulum scale effect that once per turn, you can target a Lunalight monster in your graveyard and special summon it, but it cannot attack and its effects are negated. Also, it's destroyed during the end phase. But the really cool thing about this card is it's a soft once per turn. So you can actually bounce this card back to your hand with cards like Zaphros the Elite and other cards you're playing in the deck, then reactivate it on your side of the field and get an additional Monster Reborn-like effect, which is really cool for this deck to be able to do. So you can go in for link plays or even XZ plays with all the different Lunalight monsters we're playing in the deck. We then play 2 copies of Danger Mothman. Danger Mothman is really good as an extender in the deck. You basically just reveal this card in your hand. Your opponent randomly picks a card in your hand and discards it to the graveyard, and if it's not Danger Mothman, you special summon this card to your side of the field and draw a card. But if you discard this card, then both players draw a card and then both players discard a card, which just helps you dig into the deck. But it's also a level 4 monster to help you go in for rank 4 plays. We then play a single copy of Zaphros the Elite. Zaphros the Elite is really good in this deck as a 1-of because it helps you bounce your copy of Lunalight Tiger back to your hand so you can reactivate it while also getting a level 4 monster on your side of the field to go in for rank 4 plays or go in for link plays, which is just really good. We then play a single copy of Singing Lanius. Singing Lanius is really good in this deck as a 1-of because you can special summon this card to your side of the field if you control an XZ monster, and we play a lot of XZ monsters in this build. We then play a single copy of Raider's Wing. This card is also a great extender in the deck because this card helps out a lot in this particular build because you can basically detach a material from a dark XZ monster that you control to special summon this card to your side of the field from your hand or graveyard, which is a great effect just to extend your plays. We then play a single copy of Armageddon Knight. Armageddon Knight's a good one of the deck, because when this card is summoned to your side of the field, you send a dark monster from your deck to the graveyard, so this card can help you get the exact monster you need in the graveyard when you need it. We then play a single copy of Rescue Ferret. Rescue Ferret is really good in this deck as a one-of, because it has the ability you can shuffle this card that you control back in the deck, and then special summon monsters from your deck except Rescue Ferret, whose total level equals 6 to zones link monsters point to, but those monsters that have their effects negated and also destroy them during the end phase, but that's not that big of a deal because you're basically using this card to get out your copy of Samsara Lotus and a copy of Codebreaker 0 Day, which is a great card to be able to use to link summon in the deck, so you can go for your Codebreaker engine and a copy of Trickstar Nightshade. Trickstar Nightshade is extremely important to be able to play in this deck because this card helps you go in for your copy of your Black Cat Bat, which is really good in this particular build, and this card is a great ability if this card is sent to the graveyard as link material for the link summon of a Trickstar monster. You can special summon this card but banish it when it leaves the field. This card equals your copy of Black Cat Bat because you just summon this card to your side of the field off of Rescue Ferret, and then once you do, you link it away for a copy of Bloom. This card will bring itself back to your side of the field, and then you link both Bloom and this card away to summon out your copy of Black Cat Bat, making it very easy to summon out one of your FTK pieces, which the copy of Black Cat Bat is actually going to burn your opponent forever with your copy of Samsara Lotus so that you can FTK, which is just really crazy. We then also play copies of Crossout Designator in the deck, so we have a couple of Crossout Designator targets in the deck so that we don't get hand trapped while we're going in for all of our plays. So we're going to start off with a single copy of Ash Blossom. You just need one to prevent yourself from getting hit with an Ash Blossom. One copy of Ghost Belt, same reason as Ash Blossom. One copy of Droll Lockbird, and a single copy of Nibiru. We do summon a lot to go into this FTK, so these are the best targets along with a copy of Infinite Impermanence to be able to make sure that we don't get hand trapped while going in for our FTK. And it's extremely important to be able to play these in the deck so that we don't get hand trapped, so we can go in for the FTK, and it actually makes the FTK extremely consistent since we are playing Crossout Designator, so when our opponent does hand trap us midway through this, we actually can still keep going because we do have the Crossout Designator. So that's it for the monsters, guys. Let's get into the spells. So for the spells, we're going to start with a single copy of Monster Reborn. Monster Reborn is really good in this deck as a one-of just to extend our plays so we can go in for more link summons. We then play a single copy of World Legacy Succession. This is the exact same reason as Monster Reborn. The only difference between this card and Monster Reborn is this card has the ability to target a monster in the graveyard and special summon to a zone link monster points to, but that's totally easy to do in the deck because we're usually going to be link summoning in the deck anyways to pull off the FTK. We then play a single copy of Rank Up Magic Soul Shave Force. This is so we can establish a negate in the deck, and it's very easy to pull off with the Raid Raptor package we're playing in the deck, so we can summon Cyber Dragon Infinity to give us a negate so we can make sure that we're going to go in for that FTK. We then play a single copy of Called by the Grave. Called by the Grave is in here as a one-of so that we can basically stop our opponent from hand trapping us. We play 3 copies of Crossout Designator, same reason as Called by the Grave. You're just using this card with your copies of your hand traps that you're playing in the build to make sure you're not going to get FTK'd as you're going through your plays. These are really important for the deck. We then play 3 copies of Foolish Burial Goods. We do play a bunch of targets in the deck for this card, and this card is just really good because it's basically the Rhoda-ish card for the deck with our copies of Perfume. We then play 3 copies of Luna Light Perfume. Luna Light Perfume is very important to play as a 3-of in the deck because this card has the ability to target a Luna Light monster in the grave and special summon it, and it also has the ability you can banish this card from the graveyard, discard a card, and then add a Luna Light monster from your deck to your hand, making it very easy to get to your copy of Tiger so you can go in for your plays. Plus your copy of Foolish Burial Goods sends it to the graveyard, making it very easy to pull off your FTK. We then play 3 copies of Fire Formation Tinky. Tinky is very important in the deck as a 3-of as well because this card is going to search out your copies of your Lunalight monsters, and this card is just really good as a 3-of in the build. So that's going to do it for the spells, guys. Let's get into the traps. For For the traps, guys, we're going to be playing a single copy of Infinite Impermanence. We only need a single copy of this card to be able to use with Crossout Designator to make sure that we're not going to get hit with a copy of Infinite Impermanence. We then play a single copy of Serenade Dance. Serenade Dance is really good as a one-of in the build to be able to use with Foolish Burial Goods, because during the main phase you can banish this card from the grave, send a card from your hand to the graveyard, and if you do, special summon a Lunalite monster from your deck, which is a great ability to use with this card to get your copy of Kaleido Chick on your side of the field, which is just really, really good. So that's it for the main deck, guys. Let's get into the extra deck. So for the extra deck, we're going to start off with a single copy of the Topologic Dragon. This card is very important in the deck as a one-of, because it's going to constantly destroy monsters on your side of the field, so you can loop your copies of your Samsara Lotus over and over again during the end phase with your copy of Black Cat Bat and your copy of Nightmare Cerberus on your side of the field, so you can FTK your opponent. This card is very important to be able to put on your side of the field, and it's part of your end board that you're going to need on the field so you can FTK your opponent. And this card is very good in the deck, because if another monster is special summoned to a zone a link monster points to, while this monster is on the field, you can destroy all monsters in the main monster zone, which is very important to be able to do in the deck, so you can again loop your copy of Samsara Lotus over and over again to FTK. We then play a single copy of Skulldread. Skulldread is very important in the deck as well, because this card is going to let you special summon a monster from your hand if you put 4 monsters into it, or draw 4 and then put 3 back, which is very important to dig into the deck to get the exact cards that you need, while also putting cards that you don't need back into the deck. This card is very good in the deck as a one-of. We then play a single copy of the Codebreaker Berserker. This card is just a great card to help you extend your plays and keep link climbing into other monsters. We play a single copy of the Swordsman. Swordsman is also very good in the deck to be able to work with your copy of Zero Day, so you can keep climbing for more link plays. These are very good in the deck, and a card that you're always going to summon off your copy of Rescue Ferret is Zero Day, your copy of Nightshade, and your copy of Samsara Lotus to your side of the field, so you can go in for that FTK. And this card helps you climb into your copy of your Topologic, or even your copy of Skulldread. We then play a single copy of Black Cat Bat. Black Cat Bat is actually how you pull off the FTK with your copy of Samsara Lotus, and this card is crazy because each time a monster this card points to is destroyed by battle by card effect and sent to the grave, you inflict 200 points of damage to your opponent, which is crazy powerful to be able to combo in the deck, and it's just really, really crazy. We then play a single copy of Nightmare Cerberus. Nightmare Cerberus is very important in the deck to make sure that this card is pointing to your copy of Black Cat Bat, because this card has the ability that if this card is link summoned, you discard a card, target a special monster that your opponent's main monster zone, and destroy it. Then, if this card is co-linked with a monster, when this effect is activated, you get to draw a card, but the main effect we're using on this card is co-linked monsters that you control cannot be destroyed by card effects. So you basically have this card pointing to Black Cat Bat, and it cannot be destroyed by the effect of your Topologic Dragon, and then you special summon Samsara Lotus over and over again to the zone the copy of your Black Cat points to, and then it will constantly pop it with your copy of Topologic, which is crazy powerful, and then it loops through and burns your opponent for 200 until they go to 0 and you win the game. We then play a single copy of Wise Strix. Wise Strix is very good to be able to extend your plays. This card lets you special summon a level 4 Darkwing Beast monster from your deck to your side of the field, while also being able to search out your copy of your Soul Shave Force, which is really important to be able to get to, so you can make your copy of your Cyber Dragon Infinity, which is just really good. We then play a single copy of Gravity Controller. This card is a great one-of in the deck to get a monster out of your extra monster zone while also bouncing cards off the field. It can help out in the deck a little bit, and this card is a pretty good one-of. We then play a single copy of Trickstar Bloom. Trickstar Bloom is really good to be able to combo with your copy of Nightshade, because you basically link away Nightshade for this card, then this card and your copy of Nightshade for your copy of Black Cat Bat, because this card does require 2 Trickstar monsters to make this card, and this plus your copy of your Nightshade is your 2 Trickstar monsters to be able to make Black Cat Bat. We then play 2 copies of Force Strix. Force Strix is very important in the deck to be able to dig into the deck. I did consider playing 3 copies of this card over your copy of Gravity Controller, so you could constantly dig, because this card is a soft once per turn. So as many of these cards you can put on your side of the field, you can keep searching Darkwing Beast monsters, so you can play it if you want to, but I ended up with just the Gravity Controller because I felt like being able to search out Singing and Raider's Wing was more important, and then I can just special summon the copy of Zaphros off of this, which is pretty much all the Wing Beasts we're going to summon out of the deck. We then play a single copy of Alum Bersham. Alum Bersham is very important in the deck. You're always going to make this card with 3 materials, so you can actually search out your copy of your Rescue Ferret directly from your deck to your hand off this card's ability, which is very important to be able to do, so you can summon it out with Skull Dread's ability, which is really cool. We then play a single copy of Brotherhood of the Firefist Tiger King. This card is really good in the deck, because when this card is XZ summoned, you can set a Fire Formation spell or trap from your side of the field, which is really good for this card to be able to do, because it sets your copy of Tenki to your side of the field, so you can then flip it and get your copy of Tiger, which is very important to be able to do in the deck. 1 copy of Bagooska, just in case we can't pull off the FTK on the first turn. We can go to plan B, which is always Bagooska, and Bagooska is very important in the deck to be able to play. And then finally, a single copy of Infinity. Infinity is very good to be able to use with your copy of Soul Shave Force, because you can bring back your copy of your Force Strix to your side of the field, and then make Infinity with your copy of Soul Shave, which gives you a negate on your side of the field, so that you can basically protect yourself. So while you're going in for your plays with your Crossout Designator and Infinity, you're pretty much guaranteed that you're going to pull off the FTK. So that's it for this one, guys. I hope you guys did enjoy this deck. It's really crazy how you actually pull this off, and I'll show you guys very briefly what the infield looks like. So usually you're going to have this in the extra monster zone, which is really crazy to be able to do. This card will be like here, and this will be here. This is a very rough example of how you pull it off. And then you'll have your copy of Samsara Lotus here. You'll end your turn. This will be in the graveyard. This will revive itself. It'll pop 200, 200, 200, 200 over and over again until finally your opponent's life points are 0, because this card is popping cards. This is protecting this and this from being destroyed, which is very cool to be able to do. And you'll just basically do 200 over and over again, being able to loop through this card repeatedly until finally your opponent loses, which is really cool. You can't even bring it back down here if you want to in the further zone, which is really cool to be able to do, to just constantly destroy cards over and over again and just basically do 200, because every time a monster is destroyed, this card actually will go off, because each time a monster this card points to is destroyed by battle by card effect and sent to the grave, you can inflict 200 points of damage to your opponent. So this card is going to do 200 over and over and over again until finally you actually just win the game, which is insane how easy it is to be able to pull this off with these cards. And you're basically just climbing into that, which is really easy to do with this build. I love that about this build, and I love the Lunalight Tiger in this build, because it's just super easy to be able to loop that card over and over again to make all of your plays live. So that's going to do it for this one, guys. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell there so you can become part of the notification squad, and we'll see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.